the microscopy of the pulmonary system. All right, and I got 5 slides here. 2 slides on normal stuff and 3 slides on diseases. So let's just do one on the normal stuff. So when we do this, this is at 40x. And when you look at this at 40x, you see that there's a lumen here. Okay, so we've got a lumen in this area over here. Okay, which means the lining of the lumen is this area here. This type of tissue is epithelium. Okay? Then we go out further, and you're going to see some connective tissue out here. Eventually, you'll see some muscular tissue, which I don't think is on the slide. But that's what we have here. Some kind of structure that has a lumen. So we're in some kind of tubular structure. You can take a quick glance at that at 40x at low magnification. But let's just get close up to the epithelial layer, the lining of this lumen, which is this area here. So let's get up closer. Okay. Closer, that's at 100x. Let's get up to 400x. I might have to bear with me with this microscope showing on here. It's good, it's just that I need some adjusting to get closer. Light color here. So that's a little bit better. Okay. And what you're looking at over here, what you're looking at, this is the epithelium that we're looking at over here. And it looks like there's a nuclei here, nucleus here, nucleus here, nucleus here, nucleus here. So it looks like there's a lot of layers, okay? A lot of layers in this epithelium. However, if you follow each one of these to the basal membrane, each one of these cells is attached to the basal membrane, making that this is not a stratified epithelium. Looks stratified, but it's not. This is actually simple. So it's more of one layer. The thing is, it looks stratified, so we say it's pseudo-stratified. Okay? This is pseudo-stratified epithelium. And what do we see these little things over here? If you get up really close, you can see them. These little hairs sticking up that's closest to the lumen. That's a cilia. So this is ciliated pseudo-stratified epithelium. Right? So you have an idea where we are when we're dealing with the respiratory tract. This is going to be more or less the trachea. Okay? If we get deeper down, all right, this is what you're looking at here are blood vessels. That's a blood vessel over here. That's a blood vessel over here. These are red blood cells that are all grouped together. There's a nice red blood cell there. All right, we go further, deeper down. All right. What kind of tissue is this? There's one cell there. There's another cell here. It's loaded with fat, and it pushes the nucleus off to the side. And that's adipose tissue, okay, which is connective tissue. So we get further deep down, and we get to a layer that looks like this. What type of tissue is this? Looks like, I always say this kind of looks like grape soda. We've got these purple bubbles all around here. But those bubbles actually are lacuna. And the lacuna have a certain type of cell in it. Now, I think everybody understands you have lacuna in bone. I think most people will recognize what bone looks like. It looks like, if you remember from A&P1, tree stumps with those rings around it. But this is not that case. This is cartilage. Okay, so you have these lacuna here, and inside the lacuna, you're going to find the nuclei of chondrocytes. Okay, so you're in a certain type of cartilage, and in this case, this is what we call hyaline cartilage. Okay, so this is hyaline cartilage. Now let me zoom out again for you. Now that we looked at it a little bit closer, and again, I got to adjust this color here. Okay. Again, this is the hyaline cartilage that we just looked at. You can see all the adipose tissue all around here, those clear areas. Okay, that's a blood vessel up there, but let's get up closer, go closer to the lumen. Okay, so this is pretty good. You can pan everything. Here's the hyaline cartilage. There's the adipose tissue that you're seeing nicely over here. These are blood vessels, and they're loaded with red blood cells. You get up over here, and that's going to be your pseudostratified epithelium, then a cilia, and of course the white area up on top there is going to be the lumen. So you're looking at a tubular structure. Now, let's again get at a lower magnification. So we're back now to 100x. Okay, clear this up again. Sorry about this. Okay. So again, this is going to be hyaline cartilage all here. So it's almost making a ring around this whole thing. But let's just pan this. Follow this over here, and I'm going to move the slide that way. Following it up, 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 up. And then it goes this way, tapers off, and ends here. A space or gap, and then it tapers back this way, all the way around. Okay? So let me see if I can get a clearer picture of this. That's better. All right, so let me show you again. Okay. Okay, so again, here's the hyaline cartilage. You can see the adipose tissue all in here. Blood vessels. Okay. And then you have the ciliated pseudostratified epithelium leading to our lumen. But let's go back here. Here's your hyaline cartilage. Let's follow that all the way up. Follow it up over here. Okay. It goes up, up, up. Goes this way. Keeps on going. It's getting thinner, narrower, until it tapers off to a no end here. Or it ends right there. Then there's a gap here. And then it picks up again over there. Continues downwards. You're looking at a hyaline cartilage ring that's C-shaped. What organ or structure are we in? Right, the trachea. Okay, so that's the trachea. Okay, so these are some typical questions that I might ask. All right, what is that? Lumen. Okay, what is this over here? If I get up closer, hyaline cartilage. Okay. What organ are we in? Trachea. What's the lining of the, or what's the epithelium that you would find in the trachea? Pseudostratified epithelium. Okay? I can even ask, if the hyaline cartilage ends here, and it also begins over here, making a gap here, then what organ would be located in this area over here? Yeah, the esophagus, right? We talked about that. How the esophagus is found posterior to the trachea. All right? This break over here allows the esophagus to bulge out as food goes through it, and it could press over here. This hard cartilage is not going to restrict the food from going down into the esophagus. The esophagus is allowed to expand because it's a C-shaped or U-shaped cartilage ring. Okay? So that's the trachea. Questions about that? Okay. All right, let's go to our next slide. All right. Now that's at that's at 40x. Okay. And what you have here kind of looks like a fishing net. All right. What you're looking at is normal lung tissue. All right. The lung tissue here, you can see that this is an alveolus. Here's an alveolus. But the key thing here is, and this is why it's important to understand the magnification of what you're looking at. This is at 40x, which is low magnification. I go 40x, 100x, 400x, and 1000x. So 40x is pretty low magnification. And when you look at this at 40x, you're seeing if that's an alveolus, and that's an alveolus, and that's an alveolus, when you look at this whole picture, one field of view, you're looking at probably about 40 or 50 or 60 alveoli in one field of view, okay? As opposed to what we're going to talk about or show you in a moment. So that's what normal lung tissue looks like, a fishing net, okay? But let's get up closer. All right, that's at 100x. Let's get up even closer than that. Let's go to 400. Now this is really close up, okay? But this is normal lung tissue, and this is at 400x, so we're up pretty close. And let's see if I get a good visualization of this. Oh, there's a few. Okay. So this is, let's try and get this. All right. So that's normal lung tissue. And what this is, it's pretty dark. So that's normal lung tissue. And what you're looking at is the type of epithelium that you would find on normal lung tissue is what? Come on, guys. Simple squamous epithelium, very thin, all right? So what you're looking at is simple squamous epithelium, which is like one cell over here, one cell over here, one cell over here. Very thin cells. There's one squamous cell, there's another squamous cell. They're very thin, all right? And what I just drew for you is an alveolus. So riding alongside each alveolus, okay, probably right over here, is something that's going to be your blood vessel. And it rides along here. And what type of epithelium are blood vessels? Or do blood vessels have? Good. Also, simple squamous epithelium. I'll show you why. And I'm going to make the red blood cell we'll make it green. All right. So this is your red blood cell. Here's another red blood cell. Another one, and so forth. All right. So what's happening here is that as oxygen comes in, we're going to have O2 coming in here, coming into the alveolus. And because this is so thin on the alveolus, the simple squamous epithelium, and you have simple squamous epithelium on the blood vessels of the capillary, it can easily pass through here and pass through here because it is so thin. And it's going to ride right onto the red blood cell. Perfect. You would expect that to have low or very thin, right? So that diffusion happens. A high dose of oxygen going from here to here, you expect to have simple squamous epithelium doing simple diffusion. Likewise, if we have, let's say, carbon dioxide, carbon dioxide is also going to be able to pass through thin layers like that to go out here so that you blow it off. All right? So when you see simple squamous epithelium, you're thinking simple diffusion or gas exchange. Carbon dioxide goes that way and oxygen goes that way. Should this tissue get thicker, well, if it gets thicker, then it's going to have a hard time to get through that. We're going to talk about that too. Okay? All right. So that's lung tissue. Okay? Not much more to say about that. Okay? Very thin. Now, okay. So this is a new slide, or another slide. And what we got here, this is at 40x. This is still at low magnification. And this is lung tissue. But you'll notice something different about this. You'll notice, if you use the analogy that lung tissue looks like a fishing net, now we're going to take this fishing net and tear it, stretch it out. That's at 40x. Before, about how many alveoli did you see in a normal lung with 40x? 50, maybe 60 different alveoli? But look at this, at the same magnification, at low magnification of 40x, what you're seeing here is maybe one alveolus here, another one over here, another one over here. I mean, you can really count these. There's maybe about 4 or 5 alveoli in one field of view. This is where the alveoli are overly stretched and filled with air, right? Oxygen. What do you think this is? Right, emphysema, okay? So this is emphysema, where it's overly stretched. Even this, look how thin this simple squamous epithelium is. It's really stretched. Those are really thin over here, which is what you expect. And what's the cause of emphysema in 99% of cases? Yeah, smoking, okay? It just destroys the elasticity of this lung tissue, okay? So that's emphysema, pretty easy. I don't even have to get that close up. You get the picture of what that is, okay? All right, let's look at our next one. Okay, again, this is 40x. Okay. Now, even at 40x, you could say this is lung tissue. But you could also say there's something very odd about this. All right? We don't know what it is, but let's get up closer. This is at 100x. Something very odd. You definitely see alveoli. There's still a lot of alveoli there, so it looks normal, but there's something weird about it. First off, that you're seeing is that the epithelial tissue is thickened. And there's also things located, you see these little cells that are located in the alveoli. Let's get up to 400x and see even closer. Okay? This, yeah. All right. So what you're looking at here is lung tissue, of course. Okay? What you're also noticing is that the alveoli, the walls of them are much thicker than what we saw before. These are thickened. And inside the alveoli themselves, they aren't just clear. There's a lot of cells in there. Look at that. Those are inflammatory cells, macrophages and neutrophils and stuff. They're all going in there. So there's some kind of infectious thing that's happening over here. What do you think this is? Yeah, pneumonia. Now your slides have bacterial pneumonia or viral pneumonia. Just call it pneumonia and call it a day, okay? But this is pneumonia. You've learned about inflammatory processes, the thickening that goes on, and that's what's happening. So why is this bad? All right, let's go back to this picture over here. Okay? What's happening here is that these cells are inflamed. They're enlarged. So no more were they like thin before, but now they're much thicker. And that's going to create more of a issue with many different reasons, but one of them is that it's going to fill or make the lumen of the alveoli much smaller, condensed. Cells are going to be going into the lumen. Fluid is going to go into there. The cells that we're talking about is inflammatory cells. You're going to have a lot of fluid, as we've seen, any kind of inflammation. There's going to be swelling there, you know, the cardinal signs of inflammation. So now look what's going to happen is that this is going to fill up with fluid in here because of the inflammatory process. And now the oxygen, O2, I'm sorry it's getting so messy in here, but the O2 has to go through all of this fluid and then all the thickening of the cells over here in order to get into the blood vessel. It's going to be much more difficult to get oxygen to get in there. And that's why we're seeing a lot more people who have pneumonia. What we're concerned about is that they're not able to do the gas exchanges you did before because everything is bogged down. Everything is so thickened over here and the fluid. So that's what's happening. Okay? That's why we're concerned with people with pneumonia. They're not going to be able to get the gas exchange that should be there. And likewise, the carbon dioxide is going to have a hard time going out as much as the oxygen is coming in because of this thickening. So that's pneumonia, okay? And again, don't worry if it's viral or bacterial. This is, of course, to teach different types of bacteria, but you should be able to recognize that that's pneumonia, okay? Questions? All right. So let's do our last slide of respiratory. All right. One second. Okay. So we're in lung, obviously. But is this is at 40x. Is this normal lung tissue here? Just looking at this, is that normal lung tissue? Yeah, that's normal lung tissue. At 40x, you're seeing like a bunch of, 20, 30 different alveoli there. I mean, we see more, but there's area over there, there's, this part here. But you're looking at a lot of alveoli. That's normal. So why am I showing this? Okay. When you look at this whole area, now that's normal. That's actually a bronchiole. If I get up closer, I'll see pseudostratified epithelium there. So I'm not talking about that. But what you got over here, all right, that's another bronchiole. That's okay. This is actually a blood vessel. I lied. That's a blood vessel. This is a bronchiole. If I got close, I would see pseudostratified epithelium there. But that's not what I want to show you. What I want to show you is something that looks like that. That's not normal. Okay? It's a big one there. Okay? What you're looking at is a tubercle. Okay? This is tuberculosis, or TB. You could write TB on your tests, should that be asked. What you're looking at here, we talked about tuberculosis before, but what's happening here is that we have this area where the bacteria sits in a vegetative state because the immune system in the person is so great. So it kind of sleeps until the immune system, if it does, but until the immune system goes downward, decreases. And they wall them off with this barrier around here. You'll learn about this when you take microbiology, so that the immune system that's over here, macrophages and stuff, can't penetrate this wall to destroy this. So they're pretty smart. They go in areas where they could go into a vegetative state, almost like a coma, and can sit there for decades and decades and decades until the immune system goes down. That's a tubercle. When the immune system goes down, then the bacteria come out of here, realize that the immune system goes down, leaves this area, goes into the bloodstream, leaving a crater here that bleeds. These people with TB will be coughing up blood. A condition we say, well, not condition, but a sign that we call hemoptysis. They cough up blood because you have these big craters of blood that's coming out. Okay? Meanwhile, all the bacteria from the tuberculosis is now disseminating throughout the whole bloodstream, and it goes everywhere. But that's a tubercle. That's a pretty big one shown on there. I think there's a few other ones you can see on this particular case. It's another blood vessel. More blood vessels. There's another tubercle right there. See it? Bacteria, and then it's walled off over here. Okay, that's another tubercle. There's another one over here, right? Tubercle, and there's the barrier around it. Okay, that's tuberculosis. Right, that's normal lung tissue all through here. All right, that's tuberculosis. Okay, or tubercle right there. Any questions about this? All right, so those are our 5 slides for respiratory. Again, what they are is there's 2 normal and then 3 diseases. We have normal trachea, normal lung. Then we have emphysema, pneumonia, and tuberculosis or TB. Okay, so those are 5 microscope slides that you'll be responsible for the practical stuff. Okay? Questions? No? Okay.